Okay, one for each member. Thanks.
And
We are live.
This substitute teacher, is that a full-time?
we're live. You're on, Ms. Cargo.
This substitute teacher vacancy, is that a full-time one that we hire? How many do we have like that?
Martin County Board of Education is called into session, our meeting. Ms. Massey will do the pledge, and Ms. Cargile, the invocation. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet tonight to help the students and families of Martin County. First of all, we pray, Lord, that the COVID cases and deaths will decrease, Lord. We ask you tonight to guide us to make the best decisions for our county and our school system, including students and staff and administrators. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Masson and Ms. Can I get approval of the minutes?
The agenda.
Of the agenda, I'm sorry, thank you, Ms. Carter, Ms. Scott. Mr. Harrell?
Second.
Mr. Heath, all in favor, show our hands. So moved. Public comments? We have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no public comment. Can I get a approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Scott?
Second.
Mr. Harrell, all in favor, show your hands. So moved. Information item, Mr. Gray, Dr. Gray and Ms. Julia Thomas. Dr. Thomas.
Mr.
Okay, so I was still looking at all the policies. So you want to go ahead and move forward?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be possible to have the fundraiser request presented to you?
They were already approved those under the consent agenda.
You already, okay.
Yeah, we've already gone through
All
those.
right.
And information item.
So you already, thank you, Madam Chair. All right. If it's all right with you, Madam Chair, on board, we're going to begin with the Innovation Campus, and Clay's printing some copies for us. Would that be okay?
And that's what you have for us, yes, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Great.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all. All right, this evening, what we've got is, we've got some pictures to go through, just some finishing things, some very specific items on the Innovation Campus. And then we've got a couple of handouts which Sherry has, Ms. Scott has placed at all of your workstations. And then Mr. Edwards and I are going to answer some questions, whatever you've got once we get done. Okay, just, of course, this is the front of the Innovation Campus, and just as a reminder, the signage, which will go on the left side, which is the navy blue side, and then the strip of navy blue on the right-hand side going down is where the signage will come, and it'll be the Martin County Schools Innovation Campus, and that will come by, at the end of October. By the end of October, it'll be installed. And it wasn't a contractor issue, it is a supply issue for aluminum.
Okay.
And those
How
were,
is it made? It's not painted, I assume.
no, it's the brushed aluminum, like the
Oh,
block,
okay.
yes, ma'am. So it can handle the weather and all that.
I got that, so.
Yes, ma'am. All right, in the entrance foyer area, we've talked about this a few times. That was supposed to be polished concrete, but they couldn't get it to the consistency what they like. Plus they were worried about, since it was a high traffic area, they were concerned with kids slipping, falling, visitors and guests. And so what they did was, A.R. Chesson, did a $6,000 upgrade for us that they took care of, and to put in the interior carpet in that area. So that was something that was not in an order. It was not anything. They felt like it was the safest and best way to go because they couldn't get the concrete to work like they wanted. So that was
on the inside.
yes, ma'am.
So is it carpet there now?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Oh,
that right there. It's
that's
that it's the heavy duty interior carpet, which if you're able to come on
And the
Thursday, you'll be able to see.
Oh, you talking about the black?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I thought that was a car outside.
No, ma'am.
Imagine if you just went through the front doors, and then that's the atrium area before you go into the building.
Yes, ma'am.
So that isn't the outside.
No,
No,
ma'am. That's
you-
inside.
Again,
The-
imagine if you had just gone through
I
the
need
front
to go
door.
to that tour Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
I don't even remember what it's like. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We will love to have you. All right, that is still in that same foyer entrance area on the inside, and that is all the glass has been put up, and that's the entrance to the main office area, the administrative, where the welcome area, receptionist, where they'll be stationed at. And that's the lighting in the foyer area that they have installed. It's the economical lighting, but it's the mood lighting type setup, that kind of offsets the colors and all the ambiances of the building. On the canteen area, they were putting up the wood trim, the oak wood trim, and it goes across around the top and on slats all the way around. And they were doing the finishing and attaching that. So hopefully that'll be done this week. On the opposite side of that, of course, where they hadn't put up the wood trim yet, they've got all of the countertops put in, except for one countertop that Mr. Harrell saw that they didn't do a good job with in one of the areas, and so they're going to replace that. But there's no work order or late exchange for it. They already have it. They just got to switch it out for one that looks better. We had several areas in the building, in the quintalas, which is the central part of it, and they had two workrooms that were not included in the original building specs. So what A.R. Chesson did is they redid the floors in there, and they redid the countertops and repainted them as part of what they were working on with that. And
So those are not brand new, they just came with the building.
yes, ma'am. Those are in the center quintalis section, which is right in front of the large training room, boardroom area. And of course, here's the large training room, and most of that will be out by this week. And that's just some last little bit of carpet sections and different things as they go around and replace areas and go through the punch list or the corrections that they need to do on the certificate of substantial completion, which we'll talk about in a minute. This is another workroom on the other side that has been, they replaced the countertops, redid the floors, and repainted it, and then removed some of the cabinets, because in that section there on the left that's open, that's where we'll have a refrigerator, one of our refrigerators will go. And that's another picture. All right, all of the storage areas that y'all have walked around and looked in the classrooms, in the shops, in the board areas, those type of things, all the cabinets, all the shelving is now up in the entire facility, and which is good to go. That's some of the stuff you saw in this council in the shop areas and all that. Well, that's throughout the entire facility and all the storage areas.
So that's gonna remain open, the shelves, not gonna be cabinets.
Those shelves will remain open, yes, ma'am. The cabinets and stuff are in the designated classrooms and work areas, yes, ma'am.
And we're not having lockers, right?
No, ma'am. No lockers. No, ma'am. This is in the administrative area, looking out from where we were at before at the beginning. And they're going to rework one of the countertops that has some damage on it. They're going to replace that. Shades are up throughout the facility. All the shades are up and fitted, set, and all the windows, including the shop windows. And all right, so any questions on any of the pictures? All right, just some quick notes, and then we'll look at the couple of handouts. The certificate of substantial completion and temporary certificate of occupancy have been awarded, and you have those in front of you. The certificate of substantial completion, do you want to explain what that means as far as the warranty and everything, Mr. Edwards?
He came and did a walkthrough,
Hold on a second, they're trying to locate the document. Show them.
So it's not in the book. It's an, Ms. Scott gave you,
Not part of your,
excuse me, it's, this one right here. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Steve.
Mr.
Harold. You got it? Okay.
when, Thursday week ago, Mr. Harrell and Jim and I, and Dr. Fonseca, we were all there, several of us, and we did a final walkthrough, or he did a walkthrough, and, Chesson had asked for this, and what he does is he goes through and does a walkthrough of the facility to determine if the building is substantially completed, and in his opinion, it was. He had some things that were undone, mainly touch-up paint, fixing some stripping on the canteen, but things that were not structural additions that had to be done. So in his opinion, that's Matt Oakley's opinion, the building was substantially completed. And what that meant was, it meant that the timetable for A.R. Chesson's construction date ended and the timetable for our warranty began. So, this week, we are in charge of the keys, so to speak. They come and go and do work as we allow them. If we wanted to meet there at 9 o'clock, then they would have to accommodate. They'd have to get out of the building or do whatever. So we're in control under substantial completion. We're in control of the facility, but it's not 100% completed. And some of the things that they're doing, and which they've done over the last 7 to 10 days since that was awarded. It was awarded on the 23rd. I'm not sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the date is, it's about midway the page on the right. You can see the date. And he said the date of the letter would be the date of substantial completion. So that's when it was awarded. So the penalty for,
The $750 a day for being late.
yeah, we got
Stopped at 84 days.
wait a second.
Do you need Brandon to
damage?
jump in the call?
The
Yes. Yes, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to get clarification. I knew it was called liquidated damages.
Yeah, when you were pointing at me, I thought we needed to get Brandon. That's fine.
I just wanted to make sure I said
We're
it
good.
properly. But, so, we're in charge of the building and we're setting up to clean out some of the overages and gather some supplies that they're gonna give us. And that brings us to, the point we're at now with the,
Mr. Edwards,
yes, ma'am.
Ms. Manson has a question.
Okay, sure.
And you may be getting there, maybe I'm just jumping the gun. Okay, you got $70,000 in damages, work to be completed or corrected. Is that what you're getting ready to get to now? Because that's where my question is coming from, the work to be completed or corrected. And the amount here, is that part of the 70,000
No, ma'am. Where it says at the bottom of the page, it says $66,012.98.
Okay,
That is the amount plus extra that our architect, Oakley and Collier, is withholding from AR Chesson until all of those things under work to be completed or corrected are met. So in other words, what Oakley and Collier does is they went through, Matt drew up the letter and then said, now, to get paid for the rest of the facility, all of these things have to be completed, and then he withheld that plus a few times more than that, just to make sure. So in other words, it's not just, he's not withholding $66,012.98, he's holding 2 to 3 times more of that amount.
okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
once they get that done, then we'll deal with the damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But this figure is exclusive of the liquidated damages.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. The liquidated damages are strictly for being late.
Right.
You
Yes.
didn't deliver on time. It's hard to value that. So parties agree on liquidated damages ahead of time so that everybody knows if you're late, this is what it's gonna cost.
Okay.
No matter what. it is.
That's separate. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right, the other things up there on the PowerPoint are with data installation. That started on September 30th, and they're currently working on that, and that will be done no later than the end of October. And data installation, that includes the internet for the APs, for the wireless, all of that, working through. The furniture installation and setup. Well, we have our furniture on site, almost all of it. And on the 11th, Blankenship and Associates is going to come and bring the rest of it. And then they're going to begin the actual, and when it say installation, not putting it together, they're going to bring the actual, okay, this chair goes here, this seat goes there. All the stuff that you've seen will be distributed throughout the building following the design plan that was initially selected several years ago before we got started with the color schemes and all those type of things.
If you gonna put it together,
Ma'am?
is maintenance gonna put it together?
No, ma'am, it's already together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what they did was they brought it in and put it on the west side as they went through, as y'all taking tours, like when Ms. Council and I were out there the other day, all that stuff is just stacked and ready to go. But part of their fee and part of their design is to make sure, in other words, everything's aesthetically pleasing. These chairs look better here than there. These desks need to be here, this, there. They count everything out with us, and then we go through with them. And they bring their team to put it in there, and there's going to be a few of us there, myself, Ms. Kristen Berry, Mr. Matthews, a few from maintenance. We'll help them, but basically they're going to be checking it off, doing the warranty stuff, all those type of things. They take care of all
Now,
that.
whose company are they with? Are they a separate company?
They're a separate company. Yes, ma'am. And then the building signage, which we mentioned up front, should be on site installed by the end of October. And then the current project status, which is details, which is the handout. This, we've already gone through the certificate of substantial completion. But here's the other document that we have, that I have stapled, and it has the Innovation Campus Meeting General Update, and has today's date on it. This is a traditional type document. Yes,
So
ma'am.
Your copy should have a highlight of yellow and one of red
Yes.
on the front.
It's right,
Is it in the
It's right there,
Staples?
Ms. Kirkland.
It's right there.
yes, ma'am, it's right here.
Okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am. All right. So we've gone through the top part, which is the completion timeline. And what I wanted to go through is what we've got is the building is broken down into east side, west side. Now, the reason we did this was just because y'all are used to looking at the charts and the maps, and we talked about it, not because of how we accepted or the building or how it was constructed. It just seemed to make sense because we've been talking in those terms all along. And so what I did was I broke, working with the finance and everybody involved in the team, is I broke it down into, like I said, the 2 major building sections. And then these are equipment and items that need to be purchased and reviewed. And then at the bottom, to finish the facility, when I get to that, those are other things that need to be done to completely finish the project. And I'll explain as I go through. All right, so on number 1, which is Computer Lab A, which is on the east side, and like I said, everything is highlighted on your drawing. it's gonna cost, $22,281.42 to put that lab in. And that includes with, everything, network, printer, and all the units that will go in with it. The metal fabrication shop, you see, it's $302,387. I have, the reason I've got that in italics is we are not going to outfit that shop right now. And the main reason, well, two reasons. One is the initial cost. And the second part is that this year, through the CTE department, we're doing our comprehensive local needs assessment, and we're currently working with industry partnerships to help work with us to build that lab. So one, that'll save us a bunch of money opening, and two, we will be able to have a shop that is more industry ready and meets industry standards because, long story short, our CTE team has met with some industry folks, and we've talked with them about what we want to use that shop for, what stuff we were buying. And they said, well, why buy that piece of equipment? It's real nice, but the kids aren't going to be able to take those skills out to the world of work. So we're going to work together. So that's there, but we're not going to outfit it currently.
Let me get this straight.
Yes, ma'am.
This money has not been accounted for. This is new money we got to pay.
This money has got, yes, ma'am, to outfit that shop. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The drones and advanced manufacturing shop, to completely complete the drone program, is going to be an additional $10,000 for what we've already purchased. And under the advanced manufacturing section, we have bought the first part, or part one. I apologize, my glasses keep fogging up. We have purchased part one, but part two to complete and have the entire kit is $96,676. And that's for the second part of the kit. So we had enough money to buy part one, but we not part two. The Paxton Patterson lab, which is the lab on the bottom, if you're looking at your drawing, bottom left, and the reason I call it Paxton Patterson, it's not a trademark violation, but they produce a lot of industrial arts and those type of equipment as an introductory lab, and which will include things like kits for biomedical engineering, digital manufacturing, emergency fire management, environment and ecology, basic drones, intro to engineering and design, several different areas. That'll be like where we'll have our introductory courses. That is $56,855. And we've got that earmarked for ESSER 3 with the application being entered. The other is $73,785. That's for 3 3D printers that are the commercial type, and that is to be able to do the commercial style 3D printing that can withhold the beating and banging, for lack of a better way, when you're working with. Some of the 3D printers we had bought when I was at Riverside through some other companies when I was a teacher through some STEM grants. If you use them more than once or twice to make a little keychain or something, they clog up, they damage, they mess up. These are specifically made commercial grade so they can be used regularly with students. The canteen area, we have got some of the equipment that goes into the canteen, like the deli case and the display cases and the refrigerator and the ice machine. But we've got to work with Mr. Barber to get the rest of that taken care of, what we need to do with that area. So that's why it doesn't have any information
Has
included.
that been paid for, what we need?
What we have has been paid for. What we need, I'll have to work with
The
Mr.
cash registers and computers?
Some of those other things, we're not sure exactly what we will need over there. And so that's why with Mr. Barber on board, we can get all that taken care of and do exactly what we need to do. The last one, number 6 on the east side, is the large training room, and Mr. Wagner is assisting me with obtaining the prices from PC Sound. We're working on quotes for a sound system because when the building was initially designed, a sound system was not included in that.
So do we have a quote today?
No, ma'am. They came in Friday, and Mr. Wagner is working. Did you have a quote?
We have a ballpark.
I don't have a quote, but I have a ballpark for sound somewhere between like $20,000 and $30,000. Yes.
For a basic system.
Yes.
And if you add in the streaming parts with some video, so you can do like you're doing today, telecommunicate, that kind of thing, if you're streaming, you're getting closer to 40,000 and up a little bit, so it's an expensive thing.
And does it include like other, to have it in other parts of the building or just that training room?
Just that training.
It's setting that room up for a boardroom and a training room. That part has microphones would be for board members, but also there will be like a wireless lapel mic, a handheld podium, and a portable podium so that you can move the podium for the board meetings and then move it for people who are doing conference type things. So it is multi-purpose, but it was higher price than I thought too. So.
Your
I'm thinking
question,
intercom system like a school.
your question is, that solution is gonna be through the phones that are gonna be throughout the building.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Then finally, under that, is an ADA compliance stage platform that's raised. And we say ADA compliant because at a certain height, and you've got to do a lot more with it or to it, which really runs the price up. And so we're working on the pricing for that. Finally, on the west side, you just got 3 points there. On the west side, the biomedical and biotechnology lab, and this includes some of the items that we already have some that will come over from the 2 high schools. It's about $15,628. Of course, we have another computer lab B on the far right hand side. That's $22,281.42. And the maker spaces, the areas with the garage doors, the maker spaces and the collaboration spaces, we need 3 more of those kits, STEM kits, and they're $20,274. And then once you buy those kits, you can replace parts of it with different suppliers and other things, but we have to buy those initial kits to get started. So that's materials and supplies, for lack of a clearer way to put it, for that.
Well, you're gonna be able to use ESSER funds for that? For
The-
the STEM kids?
For under the east side for A, we can use ESSER 2 funds for the computer lab on the east side and the computer lab on the west side. ESSER 3 funds, if with the application's been put in, we can use it for the Paxton Patterson kit to outfit the lab under the lost learning clause. So that, and we're going to work on some other things with it, but those are the ones that initially meet the qualifications of ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 and all the stuff that we go through and be able to be, when we're audited, we'll be able to explain.
But is it fair to say, Mr. Gard, if it hadn't been marked, then we wouldn't be using the extra funds until we get more information? We identify what we can.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, they're working with the team.
The best way to describe it is what we have identified, what we believe
Okay.
we would not have to pay back in case there is a federal audit that says, we don't understand why you were approved by DPI to do this, because you don't qualify. So,
But you have already proactively looked into.
correct.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Can we teach kids without having the STEM kids?
The things that we want to do, need to do, and be able to do to prepare our students and to be able to improve our science scores, we need those kits. Yes, ma'am.
So before we get students there?
Maybe not before we get students there, but sometime around there, we're gonna need those kits. Yes, ma'am.
And you haven't said if we can use ESSER for STEM kids.
Well, we did not, with all the other priorities and everything that we've gone through, we went with ones that were the most, that could be explained, and like Dr. Fonseca said, could go through the audit process. The bottom part and in the back of your handout, what we call the finish of the facility. So this came from throughout the process when we came on board in January, Mr. Matthews and I, and Mr. Edwards, and going around and looking at different things as we've gone through that these are things that were talked about, looked at, but not included in the initial plan that, what we had paid for as we've gone through the process. One of the things that was mentioned is signage for the back of the campus, and that would be facing the 4-lane highway. about $3,500. Landscape and site prep for the remaining of the NC Telecenter, so the NC Telecenter entrance on the other end is approximately $1,500. Securing the parking lot, which we brought it up to you at a board meeting, the last board meeting, that was about 15,000. It's 12 to 15, but 15 on the high end. And that includes all the gates, curbing, and securing the parking lot, from large, vehicle traffic and making it safe for students. And also ensuring that the, parking lot, lasts, with heavy traffic. The AC units on the top of the building, they're approximately 7,000 per unit. Mr. Evers, you want to say something about that, on the Twin Towers section existence?
I can, they put 21 air conditioning units in that project. But the Quintiles building section, that one section right through the center of the building was existing to remain, which meant they were leaving the old air conditioning units on that building. And, they did have some money allowed to get them running, but those units are outdated units, they're old, they're running, but, and I walked through with the air conditioning company,
SBC.
the SBC, they said that, they would spend money on those units that they're old, outdated, and you get into blending air, more efficient units versus older units, and their air mixing qualities, this, that, and the other. So that's why we flagged that as something that's there, and we want to make you aware of it.
But how many units?
It's 6 units.
6.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Also, we're going to need to rent some heavy equipment because we have several pallets that we've stored that are well over, have 1,000 pounds of different equipment and items on it. And to rent the floor jacks, everything to maneuver, it's $5,053.62. That's for a 4-week rental. And the reason we went with the 4-week rentals, we didn't want to back ourselves and have to do it in a week and then weather or something jam us up. And then the second thing is, by the time you got to 2 weeks worth of rental, it was cheap. It was not much more for a month. And then that makes sure that would cover everything. Also, we'll work together with finance to look at, because there may need to be some overtime and some extra labor costs for like weekends and those type of things, to once things really get cranked up to move in. And then we've already talked about the sound system with PC Sound. If you look on the back of that, the stage or staging area, we've already talked a little bit about that. And the monument sign, when the facility was priced and everything, there was a signage on the building, but no monument sign similar to what you have when you enter South Creek's campus, Riverside Middle, Riverside High, and those type of things. So we need to look at some type of sign, which would be a simple version of maybe a brick, a lot of schools have, with the aluminum sign that gives Martin County Schools Innovation Campus. And then, of course, the last 3 bullets are just options that we've looked at. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Martin, before you move on,
Yes, ma'am.
could you have also informed the board that another purpose for the monument sign?
Oh, yes, ma'am, absolutely. That is a more polite way of discouraging tractor and trailer trucks of coming through that entrance, along with some pipe ballers and some other things with the fence, and that has a little bit nicer way of, protecting that or making it harder to turn in. So when they looking for their boat, trying to get that last Bowberry at Bojangles, so they'll come in somewhere else. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. And then, of course, at the last set of bullets are just some different options and proposals that through our team that we looked at about with opening the building, with working with the funding that we have until more funding that comes up. And you can see with the west side, with the high school courses, east side with the STEM activities, and MCC using the virtual classrooms that we have set up with the equipment that they provided us earlier in the year, along with the training rooms for professional development. I've already mentioned about the comprehensive local needs assessment. That'll buy us some time. And there are also a few CTE grants and industrial grants available that we're going to look at to help outfit shops or complete that. And then, of course, transportation. We're working with transportation and, of course, maintenance to finalize maneuvering, getting to the building, and then the final setup of the stuff that we are responsible for.
Mr. Gar, can you elaborate on Martin Community College virtual classes?
Yes,
Their
ma'am.
donation?
Yes, ma'am. Each school, the two high schools and the Innovation Campus, each received two virtual television setups with the cameras, more than just the teaching TVs like we have, but it's got the interactive cameras and those type of things. So students that can't get to Martin but want to take classes, whether they're at South Creek, Riverside, or on the Innovation Campus, will be able to go into a classroom with a facilitator, and the instructor from Martin will be on the other side teaching. And so we've got a couple of rooms that we can, on that side, until we get the place fully implemented next year. They're available for Martin Community right now for our kids to take classes on campus. So let's say they were on the Innovation Campus taking their biomedical lab class, instead of worried about getting to Martin, well, shoot, I've only got 5 minutes to get to Martin, we'll have those, they can come and do the class virtually with a facilitator on the other side. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair and Board, it also allows us the opportunity to work with our community partners and industry, because we need to remember that part of the building was constructed to have access in the evenings,
Yes.
so where they can communicate with their headquarters, and more often than not, those headquarters are not nearby. So we also have that capability with the new equipment.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You talking about industries?
Yes.
And Martin earned those through a grant, and so we were provided with 6 of them. 2 at each high school, and then 2 at the Innovation Campus. Yes, ma'am.
So that cuts down transportation, getting our students to the community college.
Yes, ma'am, it sure does. And then that way, it helps us with our scheduling on our campus, because that, instead of cutting classes 5 minutes or 10 minutes short on either end, they can just transition across the building to one of those 2 rooms.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Any question for Mr. Gar?
Now, we're still planning to start classes second semester,
After the semester transition, yes, ma'am.
so they can start getting some credit of your classes come
Out there.
January.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but with Mr. Oakland's punch list,
Yes, ma'am.
just, Mr. Harold is our representative, right? I just think it needs to be updated. To Kenneth Harold,
Yes, ma'am.
just for record purposes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Denise is there also.
Which one?
This is from that.
And it's on right here. Just the names that were present.
Okay. But yes, we'll take care of that. Yes, sir. That's not a problem. Yes, ma'am.
This is the date of the visit.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else for Innovative Campus? From Mr. Guard and Mr. Elliott?
Just a quick question. Now, money, are we gonna be okay with money and with the time that we're talking about getting started and having this?
So, if I may, Ms. Manson and Madam Chair, so part of the conversation today is to present to you basically what it's going to take to complete the building from our end, things that were not included in the original contract, things that were moved because of change orders, et cetera. So, as you probably come to realize, from the numbers have not changed. These are the same numbers organized a little bit differently from the work session to today. So the board now needs to discuss. Brandon, are you still on? The board now needs to discuss. Yeah, good.
Okay.
All right, closed session. Not right now, just in closed session. Very good. Thank
Mr. Bard and Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Y'all
Yes,
will
ma'am.
agree easily by January anyway.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
No,
No,
this
they'll
is
just
something
have, at
else.
least have a problem.
We won't let them breathe it.
The big part be done anyway.
Madam Chair, this is the change that I was suggesting earlier. And I was looking at the copy of the agenda, not the actual, I thought we had it as a fundraiser. It's not a fundraiser, it's a camp and program registration fee. So if it's all right with you and the board, I would like to ask Mr. McGill to go ahead and present so that he can head out to South Creek High School.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
As we spoke, you guys back in August, one of the things I want to do is increase participation for our extracurricular activities. And one of my target areas is Western and Martin County. So what I would like to be able to do is start a South Creek Elementary have a sports camp, off after-school sports camps. My first plan is to start with a football / and a cheerleading camp. And I would like to start that camp starting on October the 11th through the 14th.
Talking about after school.
Yes, ma'am, after school. And what I would like to be able to do with my sports camps is we're gonna do it from 3:15 to 4:45. Well, to do a camp, as you can see, I got some bullets up here, increase participation for the middle school and high school athletics, future participation. I'm gonna have to, and I'll explain that. The camp fee will be $10 per camp. Fees will be used to compensate the camp instructors, snacks for the kids, equipment, transportation, etc. Camps will be 1.5 hours per day after school for 4 days per week. We will use PE teachers or former coaches to instruct the camps. Camps will be an extension of the school physical education curriculum, and the camps will be grades from 2 through 5. So for example, say we're doing a volleyball camp, I would go get a retired volleyball coach in St. Martin County, somebody, and they would come in and they would instruct the kids in volleyball. And what I would do is with the camp fee, that would help me, kids, I didn't want to give them a snack. If I get somebody to come in and teach a camp, I have to compensate them in some form or fashion. Most people are not gonna come do it for free. Me, the first camp, I'm gonna do it for free because I love it. That's my passion about it. I got a cheerleading camp we're gonna do, so we're gonna get those kids involved. So that's kind of what the fee is gonna be used for. The goals are to seek early student involvement at the elementary levels. That's some of the ways we can adopt the camper community sponsorship program. If you got somebody who really wants to go to camp, somebody said, well, I want my kid to go. I got this type of people in the community who was a sponsor kid. I've talked to different people, sponsor kid, they can go to camp. So we don't want to discourage no kid not ready to go to camp. Plans to offer a variety of sports camps throughout the year. South Carolina Elementary is our pilot program. Ms. Green is very excited about this program. And this is to provide another after-school program for the students. So it's another option for parents to have somewhere for their kids to go. And what I'm coming to you guys tonight is, I wanted to present this fee, present what I want to do to you guys, and just give it maybe approve that you guys seek, let me charge a fee for the kids. Brandon has already got me a form, it's been approved. I have forms ready to go. If you guys give me approval, I will give them to the kids tomorrow at South Carolina Elementary. They can take them home. Wednesday, I'll be there signing kids up, ready to go. Just want to present that to you guys.
Will it take place on the campus of the school?
Yes, ma'am. So
You got the buses, will they stay to 4:30?
no, the parents will have to pick their kids up from the campus.
Is that gonna be a problem?
I think that right now you got kids that go to the Boys and Girls Club every day.
What time is that open?
The Boys and Girls, that goes from right now with COVID, it ends at 6 o'clock. But see the Boys and Girls, I couldn't partner with the Boys and Girls Club because they have different fundings and different grants. So I tried to partner with them and just tie together, but their program is solely separate. So when I had the registration, the parents gonna know they're gonna have to come pick their kids up from the camp. So we're not gonna provide transportation at this time.
But how do girls and boys club get home?
Their parents pick them up.
Oh, they do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I thought the yellow school buses picked
Their
them up.
parents come pick them up.
Okay.
Have you checked with Martin County Transit?
Yes, I've talked to Martin County Transit. You have to be at least 16 years of age to ride a transit by yourself. You have to be a parent with you. I got a whole, I can't blame him right now, but I actually talked to him when I first investigated. I talked to him at quite with one word.
Frank Houses?
Yeah, Frank Halsey, yeah. I think you gave me the information. I talked to him.
I like your plan.
What is the date you said you wanted to start this?
I would like to start it on, I would like to start registration on October 6th and 7th. And I would like to start the camps on October the 11th. And we will start off with a football camp and a cheerleading camp. Like right now, you know, it's like South Creek High School, they just started cheerleading a couple weeks ago. So I'm hoping tonight's homecoming. I'm hoping when I go tonight, I'll see some cheerleaders. So we gotta build it back up.
Oh, we talking about elementary they want.
Yeah, but see,
For this program, yes, ma'am.
yeah, elementary, Ms. Cargill, but we gotta start them younger. So by the time they get to middle and high, they've had that background, that experience.
What was the start date again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We want to start new registration on October 6th and the 7th. We want to start camps on October the 11th through the 14th.
Okay.
And I have my camper, instructors ready to go. We just need a green light. Let's say, go ahead.
Coach McGill, snacks, would this nutrition program provide snacks for our children?
And me and Mr. Barber just had a discussion today. We just talked about it today. He can add into that, Mr. Barber.
Yeah, if I may, hey, how are y'all? Good to see you all today. Pam and I were actually talking about that today. Mr. McGill and I are going to sit down tomorrow and try to get some ideas of what we can provide. If we do something of milk of the sort, that's going to have to be temperature monitored. So we're going to try to get some water involved. I know we do some Scooby snacks is what they're called. Something like a graham cracker that I've seen in some times in the morning. Just another option, just to give them something to assist them in those activities. We definitely want to partner up with that and provide what we can for these kids.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to go on record and say, please see me, because I would love to sponsor. And I would like to challenge for other board members to sponsor someone too, one or two.
I appreciate that.
You'll be pleased to know that we have several folks here from the central office that are already looking to sponsor.
Yes,
Ms. Purvis?
I just want to say, based on the community meetings that we have in the western part of the county, I think it's an excellent idea.
Yes. And I think the people, you know, it's gonna be the first time we try. I'm excited. I think the kids, I think the numbers gonna be great. I'm gonna be there. I think parents will be excited. And I talked to some other people today in the Oak City area. I think people getting on board. They happy that we're there.
They see that we're
Putting in the effort. Yes, ma'am.
Would we call these intramurals?
We actually, Mr. Carter, I don't, it's not necessarily intramurals, but the intramural programs, according to the Martin County Board policy, you have to go get physicals and the whole nine. So I'm just doing it. I want to do, to me, it's an extension of the school physical education program. So in physical education, if we teach soccer, we can't get in detail. If the kid really wants to know soccer, I get a guy from the Martin County Youth Soccer Association. He comes out and he actually gonna teach soccer. You know, like today, I think I was told it's 252 kids playing soccer right now in Martin County. 252 kids from ages 4 to 14. So I'm going to do some investigation now. I want to know where these kids
But that's
from.
through Little League. And
Right,
stuff,
but
that's not school.
That's not school, but eventually those kids gonna come up through our school system. So I want to know
It will benefit them.
it will benefit how many of these kids, where they living at. So that's part of my studies I'm doing right now.
Any more questions for Coach McGill?
So just to bring the board's attention, this is on as an information item, so I don't know if you are expecting to take action, if y'all want to vote on
It's
it.
supposed to be on,
It's an action item also, on the next page.
on the next, it is action item.
Council Pearl, second bullet.
I see it after, okay, so you're planning on taking that action now?
Today.
Okay,
When we go to the action item.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
sir.
Thank you for your excitement.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna head to South Creek now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. So our last item was our first item. Martin County and Martin County Schools COVID-19 update. So Mr. Gray was not able to join us today, and also Ms. Julie Thomas is not able to join us today. So we're gonna try to do our best to share the information that is already in front of you.
I think Clay is up to it.
He is. I'm gonna be
I
right
just
here.
seen half him and him.
let's see, we run all the way to the.
The beginning.
I'll do this if you want. Okay. I have not seen your slides, so I want to make sure I know what order you're in.
I'll find it. We got to run all the way to the front.
All right, one more.
Yeah, right there.
You look up?
Yeah.
Yep, no, I have it. Let's go back to the message. One more.
Do we have those numbers in our package?
Yes, ma'am, you should have everything that's up there in your packet. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
what, so maybe Wes, all right, Wes's slides right there, so you
Yeah,
have,
yeah. Look, I'm talking about the other one.
I think you have this document here, from Mr. Gray.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that one in just a minute. You wanna do that?
Both of, yeah, that one.
Okay, we're gonna go over this document here for Mr. Gray first. And basically, something that he would do is give you a total on some cases. North Carolina's total cases, as of today, 1,410,902. And deaths in North Carolina were 16,719. You have the information in front of you, so I'm not going to read it all to you, but I think that's important to look at so that when we look at Martin County's numbers, our total cases in Martin County are 3,545. Martin County's had 65 deaths, 57 breakthrough cases, but cases since 10/1, so from the weekend, we've had 17 cases, which actually is a decline, and we're seeing some decline coming. So that's the good news that we're coming to. The current active cases in Martin County is still high at 424. And when I go over to the second sheet on here, it talks a lot about the shots, and we are looking at, making sure that we get our students shots and stuff. But looking at the graphs of the day from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, all those graphs are trending down. Okay, just the graphs at the bottom, they have a trend of trending down. Their numbers are still high, but again, we are seeing the numbers to trend down. Mr. Gray's notes that he gave for me to read to you talk about, for Martin County Schools, the newly diagnosed positive cases of COVID-19 in North Carolina hit a daily peak on September 11th. And the 7-day average of new cases hit a high on September 14th. As we have seen a gradual reduction in the average for the last several weeks, daily case numbers and total active cases for the district remain high, but have been slowly declining over the last 2 weeks. The number of cases in K-12 schools statewide hit the highest level so far in the entire COVID-19 pandemic on the week of September 5th. And since then, the weekly numbers have been dropping slightly. They are still higher than any point of the 3 other spikes that we've had with the COVID waves. And there were 251 schools that had reported in this schools on the DHHS K-12 outbreak list for the most recent September 29th, 2021 report. Mr. Gray also added in on his report that I think it's important to know that Pfizer has submitted an initial vaccination trial on data for 5 to 11-year-old children to the FDA. They submitted this on September 28th. The FDA is reviewing that data and will make a recommendation later this fall. And Pfizer is currently the only approved vaccine for children 12 to 17 years of age. And any student, staff member, or teacher can take the Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. So the Martin Terrell Washington Health District Department is recommending, because this is one of the things that we talked about, the masking policy, they're recommending the masking policy be kept in place for the following reasons. No approved vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds at this time. Approximately 57.5% of 12 to 17-year-old children in Martin County have been vaccinated. Children spend more time in the classroom, and the masking prevents automatic quarantine for exposure. Okay? It also allows children who are not wearing a mask at the time of exposure to return on a reduced quarantine option. Also, their recommendation is based on High County percent positive rate in Martin County, and the number he has is 14.5% at the time, and I think that's 14.5% of those who are tested. A high level of community transition of the COVID-19 virus in all of the 100 counties in North Carolina. So this is why they're making the recommendation for the masking policy to be kept in place at this time.
You know, 57.5% of 12 to 17, that's better than what I thought. That's almost 60%.
And it is going up, and we're getting there.
That's good.
I would like to see it higher, but
Yeah.
I mean, it is getting better.
I didn't think it would be that high. That's good.
So question, one of the emails that you forwarded, Dr. Fonseca, from Dr. Gray, is that athletics, something about quarantine athletics.
I'm gonna get into that on the school part, I think,
Okay.
yeah, on the school part, but, that's, and it is from Mr. Gray also, yes.
Mr. Gray, not Dr. Gray.
West Gray.
He gets an honorary though.
Yeah.
Would you like, Madam Chair, would you like to transition now to the school numbers?
Okay, thank you.
So this would be it's in your packet. It resembles what you're seeing over there on the screen, but it's hard to see. Incorrect.
Okay. So the week of September 27th, October through October 1, we had a total of 77 students home with symptoms. 4 of those tested positive. 67 students home with exposure. 43 students of those due to exposure at school. There were a total of 12 confirmed student cases last week. Okay, so 12 cases, but all those others were related to different things such as exposure and symptoms. We had a total of 10 staff home with symptoms last week. 4 of those tested positive. 4 students home with exposure. 1 of those due to exposure at school. There were a total of 5 confirmed staff cases last week. So our numbers are declining on our students and our staff also, because we started out at about 15 or 16, but we went up to 50, and we dropped down to about 30, 20, and we were at 17, 12 confirmed last week. All right.
Question.
Yes,
Do we have any staff who have been hospitalized?
Is that HIPAA?
it's a good question.
It's not HIPAA, but I mean, you can just talk in general if you know hospitalization.
I mean, I'm not asking for any
hospitalizations, but-
specific names, I'm just
Sure.
asking, have we had any staff hospitalized?
hospitalizations.
I'm not aware of it.
I'm not aware that I am not aware
Okay.
at this time. But I can ask some further questions, but I would have thought that would have been something that would have been brought to my attention.
It would have, I think.
I would think so. Okay, Dr. Fonseca, do you have the little clicker?
It's sure.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
Ms. Bowen says some have been treated and released, but not hospitalized.
Okay. The next slide is basically our totals that we have here that are from the beginning of school, okay? We've had a total of 461 students with symptoms, a total diagnosis of students of 166. So if you take the fact that we've been in school about 6 weeks, and we had 166, but last week we had 12. That is what I think is very good. And on the symptom side for our staff, we've had a total of symptoms 54 and a total of diagnosed as 36. Our numbers are still up, but they are declining, and I am so happy to see that.
How up is now? You had 36 at the end of August.
Okay, well, we had 5 teachers this past week, but we had 36 all together. All right, last week, the teachers' numbers were, I think they were like around 6 last week, and the students were at about 20. So we are still showing a decline. So going on to the next part, Ms. Council, that I think about the memo. There was a memo sent out by Health Director Wes Gray. He sent it out on September 29th regarding updated guidelines for quarantine options for our students, teachers, and staff. The CDC continues to recommend quarantine for 14 days after the last exposure. However, the CDC has identified 2 shorter quarantine options. A 10-day quarantine if the person has no symptoms, so they can go into a 10-day quarantine, or a 7-day quarantine if the person has no symptoms and has received a negative antigen or PCR test on or after the 5th day of quarantine. Okay, so we have students and our staff, and that would reduce almost 7 days of what we're quarantining if the students will take a test. The thing is, they can't, and our nurses are very good about saying, all right, this is the day that you can go take your test. If you take it on this day, if it's negative, you can come back to school,
So
okay?
as soon as they have the symptoms, we're saying the tests are not accurate.
Right,
It's too quick.
right, if they have symptoms, then they go into a separate protocol, and they have to, at that point, once they have symptoms, this is in quarantine because they were exposed, but they may
So
not have any
5
symptoms.
days later, is that saying when you can come back, or why are you waiting 5 days?
Okay, all right, basically, there, and now, help me out, remember, I'm not the nurse, but the way it is that if you are exposed, there's basically like a 4-day incubation period.
Okay.
Okay.
Where
And
the tests
so
are
you can be
accurate.
asymptomatic for 4 days. And so that's why they say go on the 5th day
I
and take
didn't know
it.
that.
Because, right, there's 4 days that you could have it and not even know it, and it would show no signs. Okay? So does that help?
Yes, it does. I
Okay.
didn't know that.
Okay. All right.
That's why we don't have the test at school for the nurses to do, right? Because, I mean, when they get the symptoms, it ain't gonna be accurate that day.
Well, we're
working on it.
We're working on it.
Remember that
And
the state,
schools are moving towards doing some testing, and we're in the
I thought you
process
said
of
you had to
learning
wait
more.
5 days.
not for all
All right,
circumstances.
wait. All right, Ms. Carlisle, let me help see if I can make it for this. If you are asymptomatic and have no symptoms means that you would wait to the 5th day. But if a student comes in and they have a temperature or a cough, we could then test them immediately and go ahead and send them home. And then they would know the results quicker, and it would save them from going somewhere
That
else.
makes sense.
So anyways, that's the difference.
Madam Chairman, so we will have a little bit more information on testing, on-site testing at the work session. So we have some meetings coming up. As you know, the state released some monies. There's a vendor that has contacted us.
Nice.
But we don't have that information tonight.
All right.
What's that ESSER for?
Those are state funds. I'm sure there are federal funds involved in it too, but different funding.
Okay, just kind of to wrap up the last part, because I think this addresses the part that Ms. Council was asking about also. All right, so if quarantine is discontinued before day 14, and the individual is permitted to come back into school under the shortened periods, either a 7 or a 10 day, the individual should continue to monitor for symptoms and strictly adhere to all non-pharmaceutical interventions, wear a mask, practice social distancing through the 14 days. So basically they're saying if they come back in, they need to make sure that they're not coming back in because they don't have a fever because they're taking Tylenol or something like that, and they still need to wear a mask, they need social distance. Now, the part that I think that talks about students involved in medium and high-risk athletic activities outlined in the interim guidance for youth amateur sports should continue to refrain from practice and games for a period of 14 days. So we allow students to come back in. We can't allow them to come back in at 7 or 10 days, but they're still saying that the recommendation for athletics is 14 days because they're not wearing the mask in the athletic part at that time. And then, so we had some questions, our nurses, when we all talked about this. And so Julie followed up with the health director and said, in a follow-up from the health director, It clarified that schools can use the shortened quarantine times, even with closer physical distancing, because, it's hard in a classroom to stay 6 feet apart now and everything, and the individual needs to wear a mask consistently. So, the health director has said that it would be okay if we follow those guidelines for the shortened period. Those are the updates that I have on the two.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Harrier.
Thank you.
So Madam Chair, those are all the information items.
Madam, Curtis. You want to vote in closed session, Madam Curtis?
Madam Chair, I move the Martin County Board of Education into closed session subject to the advice from an attorney pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee. The board would also go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143.318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G and North Carolina General Statute 115C-402.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session? Mr. Scott? Mr. Harrell, all in favor, show your hands. So moved. Oh, in here. Can you adjust the thermostat?
Yes, ma'am. Are we
Thank
good?
you.
You're good too, Bob.
We're live, Madam Chair.
Yes, next thing on our agenda is action items. So, Dr. Fonseca?
Thank you, ma'am. Just for clarification, Mr. McGill is not here, but, Madam Chair, Board asks for your support in accepting the personnel report as presented.
Can I get a motion to
So
accept?
moved.
Mr. Heath?
Second.
Mr. Harrell, all in favor, show of hands. So moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board, ask for your approval for the camp and program registration fees as presented earlier by Mr. McGill.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Heath and Mr. Harrell, all in favor? So moved.
All right, and following current North Carolina law, Madam Chair, Board, you need to vote on the monthly mask option.
Mandatory for all masks for all Martin County schools. Can I get a motion? Mr. Harrell?
Aye.
Second, Mr. Scott, all in favor? All opposed?
Are we doing that just until the next meeting?
Just
It's always by month.
It's
by monthly.
every month, yeah.
Closed session minutes. Can I get a motion to accept the closed session minutes to not be released?
So moved.
Mr. Scott,
Second.
Mr. Harrell, all in favor? Show of hands. Yes, sir. Board comment, I want to do two things here for board comment. One, if you can, look in your folder where Ms. Robertson gave us a report on the county appropriation for 2022. That's there in your book. Also got an email from North Carolina Justice Center to do a resolution on the Leandra, and I believe that email was sent to all board members, so if you can, please check that email to see, and maybe we can bring that up in our work session, whether we should adopt that Leandra resolution or not. So
Who was
please,
that from? I've not seen anything.
Sarah
It
Montgomery,
came today.
it
I
came
saw
around
that,
about
yeah.
4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
It's
Not
still
out.
needs to support these Leandra deal.
I'll check her email, see if, and then she followed with me to make, to
And
ask.
she's probably gonna need it before 2 weeks from now. So I think it's coming up. We Judge
Well, we
Lee.
can't make a decision like that, quick like that, so, Sir, it's from Montgomery, Sarah Montgomery. It's about a resolution, the judge. Can you explain it in a quick and
It's the
easy
same
way?
basic education, but they're saying Judge Lee and the court said that we have not been showing fairness to all students in North Carolina.
No, it's not us. It's the legislature has not
Yeah,
given
the
us
legislature
appropriate
has.
money to give our child a basic education,
So it's something we
particularly those in low income. And the resolution is coming from Randolph County. I believe Randolph County adopted a resolution, and they want to know if we can sign on with Randolph County with that resolution to push legislation to give the money that the judge has,
And they've been holding off on it, so we want the money now.
Okay,
So that's something that's been going on for about 25 years.
25 years.
25 years, but right now it's at the, it's right there,
Uh-huh.
but it just,
So,
the
you know,
legislature
we
hasn't
want
signed
support
off on it, hasn't did a budget on it yet.
And
That
they're not
is-
going to.
Well,
Well, I
anyway,
think it's gonna be
so
forced.
if our board, Martin County Board of Education is in agreement to sign on with that resolution, we can make a quick discussion with it at our October 18th work session, okay? So if you don't have it, I will send it to you, so you can read over. I did not read it over because it's too late in the day for me. Ms. Carlisle, you got anything for board comment?
Madam Chair, can you just please send me that email?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I definitely support the Leandra case and, that hope that we can get equality for all students in North Carolina. And, I've enjoyed tonight's meeting and, feel like we got a lot accomplished and then I'm excited about the little sports team thing that's gonna start. So, and Brandon, I wish you and your wife all the luck in the world.
Ms. Mason,
I would like to thank, again, Coach McGill for, his enthusiasm and kind of thinking outside the box, getting this program going, for the children up at the western end of the county. Again, I challenge other board members to support and sponsor a child. And also, I'd like to thank Dr. Fonseca for the organizational chart.
It's a draft, thank you, ma'am.
It's a draft, okay, and I just wanted to see if everybody knows who they are they clear on who they are to answer to, who they are to report to?
Yes, ma'am.
And just wanna make sure everybody, I think things just flow so much better if everybody's on the same page and they're clear as to who they are to report to. And,
We'll expand on it at the work session.
okay,
Good, I'm interested in that.
okay.
Ms. Purvis.
I just want to welcome and thank Attorney Hitch for joining us this
Yes, it's
evening.
been nice having you.
I would say I am very excited about the Innovation Campus, so very appreciative of, Mr. Gard and Mr. Edwards with their work. And I'm also very appreciative of Mr. Wagner, for filling us in with this ongoing pandemic update as it relates to Martin County.
Mr. Scott.
Echo the sentiment of everybody else on the Innovation Center. I'm glad it's finally coming to a close. We actually still have a long ways to go, or really opening it to the full capacity of what we're looking for. A little disappointed that the county commissioners didn't help us out, but it's the way it goes.
What
But
else is needed?
also, the information that Clay presented us, I appreciate all the information that they did. And Ms. Sisson, it was good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Glad to have you.
It's always an honor.
Before I move on, don't let me forget to ask you guys to leave the closed minutes here with Ms. Scott. Okay, all right, Mr. Harris.
Just to echo what's already been said.
Sir?
I said, just echo what's already been said.
Okay.
That's good information.
Thank you. Mr. Van Heat.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, everybody is happy and satisfied. Dr. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Just want to say thank you to the entire team here at the central office for doing what they need to do to make sure that you're informed. Appreciate Sherry putting all these things together every 2 weeks during work sessions and board meetings. Quick shout out to all of our teachers who are still in the middle of all this COVID stuff, handling things the best way they can. If we have teachers listening, we appreciate you. Thank you for hanging in there. Madam Chair, also this is October is Principals Month, so kudos to our principals. We have a lot of them either covering classes, teaching classes, substituting, driving buses, working in the cafeteria, whatever it needs. So kudos again to our teachers and our principals because they are all in there doing what it needs to be done to keep schools open. We appreciate you. And then thank you to the board for your leadership. I appreciate you voting on the personnel report. So I'd like to take 2 seconds to reintroduce you to a familiar face. First, worked with Martin County Schools for 32 years, retired from Martin County Schools October 2020. Martin County Schools Teams Coordinator for 28 years, native of Martin County, graduated from Williamson High School. She holds an associate degree in business administration from Mount Olive and Riverside High School varsity cheer coach for over 16 years. So thank you for your support of bringing Ms. Moore back.
Thank you, Ms. Learn when to say no, Ms. Moore, okay?
Say what?
Learn to say no.
And then
Mr. Barber.
10 seconds to introduce Mr. Barber. Where's he going? So you saw him in action out here already answering questions about snacks and whatnot. So we're excited to have him with us. All his years of experience working in the restaurant industry and service industry, and then years of teaching. So please welcome Mr. Barber. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Board.
Can I get a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Ms. Renee, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Heath, and Mr. Scott, all in favor, show of hands. Have a safe trip home, y'all.
Thank you.
tomorrow night.
Thank you.
We expect to see pictures of that baby.
I know.
All right. Thanks, Brandon.
Social media page, but I forgot to mention it.
Okay.
Get his
Yeah,
phone.
we've done some-
I send it.
Yeah, you have. I'm
Yeah, last
gonna
week.
try to get to that.
Actually,
Has means of trials that are open, so we need to make sure.
Can I have your attention, board members, before you leave here? The letter that you guys received from us in closed session, can you please tear off that back and hand it over to, Rachel, please?
Rest of open files.
y'all have a good evening. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. Yes, ma'am.
And what time are we meeting for the work session? Do we have dinner?
6:30 always.
No.
6:30.
Or we have the dinner?
Yes.
So it will be